Go for it.
Hello, all poetry lovers. We're delighted today to have Sue Silver as a guest. I've known Sue for many years. Sue Silver lives and writes in Shepherdstown, West Virginia. She has been a photographer, a teacher for awakened life, offering instructions in meditation and transformational work. She's part of the Library of Congress Project for Public Radio, and she's been published in Vox Poetica and several anthologies of the Appalachian writers, among others. Silver was awarded the poet and was interviewed on the poet and the poem by Grace Cavallari, along with those interviewed by Grace. Silver's poetry is archived at George Washington University at the Melvin Gelman Library. It is also was also sent to the moon on the lunar code. Silver received a 2022 Pushcart nomination, and we're going to hear that poem that she got the Pushcart nomination for. But I'm going to turn it over to Sue and let Sue pick the order of the poems that she wants to read.
Good morning. I thought I would open this reading with a poem from my first book, Inside Outside, which is available on Amazon and also at Four Seasons Books. What would you do? A poem after Mary Oliver. What if 100 eagles called you by your name and flew above you? What if a crow sat at your window, told you how to fix the printer? What if the summer breeze took away your aches and pains? What if the whistle from the passing train gave you an idea and you became filled with joy? What if the news was filled with stories of goodness in the world and all hostilities ceased? What if the light in our eyes became so bright we couldn't kill each other anymore? What if you finally knew the value of your every breath, the way the flower turns its face to the sun?
It's a beautiful close, Sue. I love the, calling on the heliotropism of the flowers, and it's a gorgeous poem, and a beautiful conceit, starting with what if. But I love the light in our eyes grew so bright we couldn't kill each other anymore. Are there any other particular lines that struck you, John?
Um, no, that one, the one you just mentioned is the one that got me actually, and so I think it's a very I like it that it's short and potent. You know, that was my immediate reaction.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
I also love the crow on the windowsill telling you how to fix your printer. Crows are special to me. They're one of my special animals, crows and ravens.
They're so wonderful, aren't they? And they do bring us messages.
Yes.
Many messages, and they'll also come and give you warnings.
Yes.
You remember the story of the rainbow crow?
Yes, I do. It's a
You
gorgeous
know,
story.
you
Iroquois
know,
legend.
yeah, where the it used to be a beautiful bird of many colors and had a beautiful song, and then it flew to the sun to bring back heat to heat up a frozen earth, and in the process, it became black, and its voice could just sound out warnings. So,
Oh, right. I remember that story. Thank you for
right,
reminding me what that story was about. Yeah, wonderful.
right, right. And anyway, so that's very nice.
My son has a crow that he feeds, and the crow remembers him now and is his friend and comes to visit him when he's at work.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Can you tell the difference between a crow and a raven?
Yes. The ravens fly quite high. The ravens will fly very, very high in the sky, much higher than crows. And I think there's also a difference in their wings with feathers. The feathering is different.
Is it ever? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jana.
You hear it in their call too. A raven sounds like a baritone crow. They
Oh,
got
it
a deeper
does.
voice.
Well, I was just remember that if can the raven ever escape, Edgar Allan Poe's,
Yeah.
image of it, right? I mean, whatever one thought of ravens before Poe, can you ever think of them differently? That's changed forever, isn't it? Really well, at least our lifetime. Um, so,
Why don't we
but
let's move on to the next poem?
okay.
All right. So this poem is for you, John, and for all of you out there who are very unhappy about what's going on in the world. Thoughts on the front burner. Among the entitled, the benefited, live the servers and the served. Those few delineate a chasm of awareness where the bones of the many are subjugated to the bones of the few, where the cheaper they get them is all right by them, where the reduction sauce for the few is on the front burner. It is a sauce for the man mouth, the sauce till their last breaths, and their days may be numbered, yet they, outnumbered by the faces of women and the faces of the non-white, and even now whites too, the workers, the too many for the few, may haunt them and wash their fat entitled lives away. Those who would hold back money, hold back education, hold back what you need, and make unaffordable. Hell, take it all away, take it away. No voice, just act like there is. Away and away again, away, the sauce reduced again. Wages down, cost of living up, greed prevails. No release. The lie is up front. While betrayal thrives, democracy lies at ease. And will we move for change?
You read that very beautifully, especially the verse, hold back.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
a very powerful verse. Hold back education. That's a very important line right now. Hold back what you need, another very important line. And make unaffordable. Hell, take it away. That's a very powerful segment right there.
Yeah, that could have been a good speech at the recent rallies, actually. It could have, it was very nice. I connected to that one.
I should have given it to somebody to read, but I'm not ambulating that well anymore, so I couldn't
Right.
go in person, unfortunately.
Well, there weren't really around here. I don't think there were actually speeches at the rallies that I went to, but down in Charleston there were. There was a. I heard there was a big crowd and a guy who was a speaker there. I just talked to him yesterday. So anyway, thank you for that. I think that's whatever we can do to awaken our country would be helpful right now.
And what's
You,
next for us, Sue?
Awakening. I think I'll read this awakening one. Awakening. With the last of the frost, a seeping cold clings as the earth softens and swells. A vast movement. Spring brings first buds in green. The earth shakes her shoulders, throws off the stillness of winter. Birdsong fills our ears. Trees breathe faster. Trillium and crocus break ground. The earth calls us, turns our attention without. Awaken to the movement of each breath, the stillness between.
Again, another lovely close. You have a great gift for bringing a poem to a conclusion. You can either bring it down to a point or you can explode it upward. That poem does both. Because when you go into the stillness between breaths, you've got that moment of stillness, but you also get all the things you find in that stillness. So that's a gorgeous close.
Thank you. This next poem is called Catness. This is about my cat, who's been with me 19 years, which makes her 140 years old in cat years, in human years. In cat years, she's not in, yeah. So anyway, Catness. One, One night with the wind blowing wildly, my cat climbs down from the porch chair. She rolls around on the ground. I wait, hold the door open till she, in her own time, makes her way inside. The wind, all this while, works to wrest the door from my grasp. I run my hand over her black fur. Her yellow eyes gaze at me steadily. She purrs. Her claws extend and retract on the cushion that protects my legs as she sits in my lap. I see the Egyptian goddess Sekhmet, who did Ra's bidding, annihilating evil hordes, after which she became the great healer, they say. An ancient one, she who lives with the wind. Her eyes and paws are reaching to me now. Her body an echo of all cats, tiger, panther, bobcat, her stride, her stance, that stillness in her strength, the stalk, the pounce.
Again,
Well,
a gorgeous.
yeah, that's your version of Rilke's The Panther. That's very good, Sue. I like that.
High praise.
Uh,
I segue from the cat to the Egyptian goddess. I thought that that was a very effective move. Our cats do seem to hold more than just catness. They hold so much more. They're tiger, panther, bobcat, indeed.
the Egyptian goddess Sekhmet. Say something. I don't remember what Sekhmet was in
The
the.
Egyptian goddess Sekhmet has a big cat head, and she
Okay,
was the early human beings did not have light in them, did not have the divine light in them, and they were really a terrible horde of people at that time, way early in the Egyptian, far before the pyramids, far before some things were built.
right.
The the people looked to women goddesses, and Sekhmet was a very early woman goddess. She had this great cat head, and she did Ra's building, Ra's bidding, Ra representing the sun, as we say, the sun god, but Ra,
Right.
our goddess, whoever Ra was. And so God had her annihilate those hordes and bring in the lighted beings that we are now. Make way for the lighted beings, the beings that hold the light of the divine now, as we are.
Wow.
So
Wow.
we had to get rid of some seriously evil creatures. It would be like routing out a bunch of, oh, I don't know. I don't want to say. That's kind of a
Okay.
statement. So,
Well,
routing out a bunch of stuff that you don't
I
want.
see. All right. All right.
Was she related to Bast, Sekhmet? Because
Yes,
Bast is also a cat goddess.
yes, I believe so. I'm not
Well,
exactly sure, though. I can't exactly say.
Well, it reminds me, for example, I think didn't tell me if I'm wrong, but didn't William Blake build the sort of whole I don't know cosmology of sorts of gods based on some generation of Egyptian gods, and I can't remember whether or not that would have been a later version of the Egyptian gods because they went through a couple of different generations, didn't they? In a way. Over the centuries.
Oh, they did. They did.
Yeah, so but I remember Blake had a whole bunch of Egyptian gods as characters in some semi-epic poems that he was writing, but I don't remember the exact.
I'm
And
not
there
as
was
familiar with like separate poetry as I am of his shorter lyric poetry, but
and
I'm
his
sure. Yes,
didn't
John?
his no didn't one of the which one of the Egyptian gods had the head of a horse?
I'm
Oh,
not sure, John.
I
Because
don't know.
there's okay, all right, okay. No, I just it's a wonderful poem, Sue, and it gets you. I mean, you got the cat. This is hard to do. It's hard to do, and I think you got it. So anyway,
Reminds
thank
me of
you.
the French proverb, a cat is always on the wrong side of a door.
There you go.
I
At least
don't know
our
that
cats always
cover.
are.
That's beautiful. The cat is always on the wrong side of the door.
Yes, that's a French proverb.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. All right, I'll read this poem, Currents. Control. It's called Currents, Currents, Currents. Control, we dream of control. Hanging on to the reins of our lives. We rush from pillar to post. Yearn for what? We move through a world laced with emotion, juiced up news that runs our lives with some decision or other, while we hold on for dear life. With force of will, don't push the river. I remember now I stood in the river mid-calf. It was running strong and knocked me backwards to its cold bed. Don't push the river. No contest. The trick is flow. Today, while fishing the soft eddies near the shore, deep down in the rocks right there, the biggest fish swims very still in the current.
Yeah, so the idea of the river, and you can't step in the same river twice, like Heraclides said, and don't push it. The river pushes you. That's a very powerful image in the poem.
So the
Don't
image
push.
from
Yeah,
that I'm really working with is the innerness, the inner experience of the stillness within, the stillness between the breath and the stillness within, and the
Yes.
image of meditation, and how in my practice, as I've been practicing as regularly as I can, daily, and sometimes not every day, and then a blast of a lot. But it's really helped me to be not so affected by the terrible changes that we're seeing, not so affected emotionally, so that it tears me up the way it would in the past. It gives me some space because this is a 3D world, and then we move as we meditate into a higher dimensions. And because everything is energy, we can move from this 3D world that is filled with, contrast, black and white and green and cold and hot and this state, to a higher realm in meditation, to that of the fifth realm, the fifth dimension. And it
It's
really saves our bacon because we get so much peace in that experience.
it sounds like your meditative practice has a big influence on your poetry.
It certainly does, Janet. It certainly does.
I think it makes it possible. I don't know. My only experience with meditation is really Quaker meeting. Okay, and it's the closest I've ever come to it. And so but my own sense of a perspective in poetry that is in the moment, but detached also. In a way that allows you to see more than your own sight could see. Um, so I and I think there's a lot of poetry that I think is influenced by your favorite poet, Janet. What's her name? Jane. Yeah, right. A good example of mastering that art as well. And it does. The poems read and feel like jewels when it's really done well. And I want to thank you so much for sharing it. That poem was beautiful.
Thank you. I'll read this poem, Deliverance. I'm very proud of this poem. I was nominated for the Pushcart Prize for this poem, and it was published in the Anthology of Appalachian Writers, Volume 14, this one. And there were three other people that were also nominated, Mark Harshman, and I forget everybody. I'm sorry, I can't remember them all, but I'll read Deliverance. Deliverance. At Waimea Beach, the surf breaks far from shore. I paddle out to where other surfers bob in the water, sit astride their boards, wait for waves that come in groups of 4 or 5, break and roll to shore. I am 13. We have stopped here on our way to New Zealand after my parents' divorce. It is 1957, and I am surfing alone. The boards are 8 foot thick, 8 foot long, 2 inches thick, fiberglass with one fin. They are hard to maneuver when swimming out, but make a dance floor riding in. I paddle forward with all my strength as the wave breaks. I bolt upright, move to gain my balance. Both arms stretch out as I step into it. I feel fear and elation, joy and misery. My breath is short and fast, eating the air, the blue of it all. Fat water curls under me, shoots me forward. Fear bites my ankles, and I straighten up as the board rushes forward. My heart stammers. The wave, so alive, takes me fast, fast, fast down its long mane of blue.
I love that image, its long mane of blue. This poem is
I like. Go ahead. I like the dance floor image. That's what got me.
and this poem is a poem of memory. And I thought maybe I might ask you to speak a little bit about how memory plays into the writing of poetry.
I have a lot of poems that I've written out of memory, and I'm constantly wrestling with them because they're so long. But I've written poems about attending. I think for me, it's a wonderful way to capture the cherished memories. And I have many adventures that I've been on in my life, including going to India and attending the Kumbh Mela there, which is a huge gathering of folks coming together to pray and honor the divine. And they arrive in millions, and by the millions, and I mean like this year it was 500 million in India. And the town used to be called Allahabad, but now it's been changed under the new president there of India. And they've taken the Arabian names out of their country and replaced it with Indian names. So, but I also have poems about that I'm still wrestling with to whip them into shape, and it's not easy, I think. And I admire anybody who can do it. I have I was gifted some poetry books recently, and I can't think of her name right now. I'm so sorry. Who writes excellent long poems of memory. And what is her name, Grace? Remember, I was talking with you about her.
I might have to unmute her here. Hold on. Let's see. Yeah.
Long poems of memory, those are hard to do. It's hard to sustain the interest.
Yeah, very hard to do.
I mean, are they long because the narrative has a lot of I mean, like have a plot to it or something, or is it? a bit
Well,
long.
it's
Just
kind of a long story. So, I think the balance is trying trying to convey your story without making it, a whole short story. And I'm thinking, well, maybe some of these should be just short stories,
well,
which I've made a couple of already.
have you ever experimented with the prose poem format at all? Does that
Yes,
work at
yes,
all for you? You know?
right. And I've got some prose poems. There's a prose poem in my Inside Outside book, which is actually a funny poem, and I could read it to you, but
Oh, well, that would be
Please
great.
do.
Yeah.
all right. This is called Stolen Plant. My friend Sarah was showing me her plants, the ones she had replanted and that were doing well in their pots on the shelf in the sun in her kitchen. And this one, she pointed to a large white pot with a geranium in it, was stolen from my front porch. I saw it on the neighbor's porch. Sarah's house is not in the best part of town. I called the police, she continued. Yes, I did. I called them. They do a lot of drugs over there, and I didn't want to just go over and ask for my plant back. So the police came and we went to the neighbor's house. The policeman knocked on the door and a woman came out. She looked all disheveled, has tobacco stains on her fingers, and smells bad. He said to her, "Ma'am, where did you get this plant?" So the neighbor says, "Well, I don't know. It's mine. It's on my porch here." So the cop says, "Well, ma'am, your neighbor here says it belongs to her, and she wants it back." "Oh, is that so?" says the neighbor, looking antsy. "Well, I don't know nothing about that. Drunk Larry gave me that plant, Drunk Larry just up the street there a ways. But if it's yours, you should take it." "Well, it's mine," says my friend Sarah. And with that, she picked up her plant and went home. My friend Sarah told me that herself, and I thought it was worth
That's
retelling.
great. I love that one.
Yeah, I
That's a
thought
great
it was
one to
worth-
close on.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you
All
for
right.
sharing, Sue.
So, Sue, do you have a new book ready to roll pretty soon, or are you gonna
Well,
are you s- you're you said you're working on whipping things into shape? Are we looking at a publishing event coming up here?
well, I've got to whip some of those story poems into a little bit better shape, and I've got close to a book, very close.
Have you the experience of writing a poem which the first time you finish it, you say it's done, versus one that you've worked on, worked over, and more like a ongoing craft. You keep making it better. But have you experienced both styles or both things, or is it always sort of one or the other?
Well, it's been difficult, and I'm kind of I kind of having a little bit of back and forth over some poems that I've edited in groups before, and then decided that my voice was edited out a little bit too much, and gone back and put my own voice back in. So there's that to it. And I think that's always something that poets need to be aware of, to not lose your voice when in editing a poem.
When you edit, how often do you actually read aloud and versus reading it in your mind?
Well, I think reading aloud is essential because you get a whole different view when you're reading aloud. Don't you think so, Janet?
Yes, I think it's important. And just in terms of when a poem is finished, Paul Valery has that famous quote, "A poem is never finished, only abandoned." And
I
my
like that one
code
too.
to that is it's important to abandon your poem in an interesting place.
Oh, that's really great.
I love
In an
that.
interesting place. I love that myself. That's great, Janet. Great advice.
Oh,
Well, I've abandoned many a poem that got that I just didn't know what to do with. I just didn't know what to do with or where to go with it. Because
Right.
I think the way I go about poetry is that I have something to say. I feel I have something to say. Don't you find that, Janet, that when you're starting a poem, it's just you have an urge to say something?
Yes, but then the poem takes over and it sometimes goes in its own place, and you have to just sort of sit there and be surprised as anybody else by what your poem is doing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, that's so true. That's so true. And then for me, I sometimes get to a place where I just don't know what the poem's doing, but if I go back to it at the right time, seemingly, because sometimes I go back and it's the wrong time. And can't make head nor tail of where to go. But if it's the right time, I see right away where I need to go. And so I just press into it and out it comes, you know?
Very good. Isn't it Robert Frost just said, no surprise for the writer, no surprise for the reader?
Well, a lot of times it's a surprise for me. It's like, oh, what a lovely gift. What a lovely
Yes,
gift, because it comes through us and as a gift, I think it's all a gift,
Right.
you know? We
Oh,
had
that's been
I inherited poetry from other ancestors who were good poetry writers. So it
right.
was a gift that came down through my genes, I think.
Right.
very
Right.
good, Sue.
Very good. It's wonderful, Sue, and thank you so much for joining us on the poetry. So we have other poets in the area. We probably should, find a way to do that. But it's been ever since the pandemic came. It seems like it's been just difficult to get out and about and do things. Plus, old age keeps creeping in, unfortunately. Anyway, thank you so much, Sue, for joining us today, and thank you for your friends and supporters here that joined Grace, Helen, Ruth, and uh,
Candace.
yes, okay, and it's been it's a great thing. And anyway, we'll try to do this again. By the way, if you want to read listen to our podcast, it's on podcast.enlightenradio.org. It usually takes me a day to get them up there, but you can get, and also all of the whole history of our program here and all the podcasts are on democracyroad.podbean.com. So having said that, everybody, thank you so much.
Beautiful. It was a beautiful show. Thank you so very much, John, Janet, my darling and beautiful Sue. This is Grace Cavalieri. Thank you so much for this program.
All right, thank you, Grace. All right, everybody, take care. It's late, but everything comes